UIC.
Freedom the people of
Hell yeah.
freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah,
Yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road.
All right, good night, everyone. Welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. Glad to have you guys on. Let's see who is on tonight. Oh, I'm not seeing anyone in the chat. But I'm seeing that we have 17 viewers. So drop in the chat where you're watching in from, and we'd love to send you a little shout out. Tonight, we'll be talking about the microfinance industry. Lion Wound the Jungle, blessings. How are you, Mr. Harper? I am quite well, thanks. How are you? How are you doing? JMH, big up yourself. Cordell, good night. Good night, Cordell. So yes, tonight we are talking about the microfinance industry and how the government of Jamaica is using regulations, as usual, to provide or to create a monopoly for specific special interest groups or special interest institutions. Yes. Nezuk Komodo. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Bless up UIC family. So tonight is going to be very interesting because, as Lydia always says, class is in session, and I'm going to be learning as well as you guys from the master teacher himself. So Lydia, bless up yourself. Another interesting class is in session. Blessings, Mr. Harper and Uniters at home and abroad. Yes. So guys, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It's very important. Helps with our engagement and helps with the algorithms. That helps us to be shown to more people. And very importantly, most importantly, is our big event that we're having on the 22nd of September. This is next week, Thursday, 22nd of September. We are having a walk for good governance, and we'll be starting in downtown Kingston at the Ward Theatre and heading to Halfway Tree, Mandela Park. We'll be stopping along the way at Hero Circle, Emancipation Park. I think we might be stopping in Crossroads as well, and ending in Mandela Park at Halfway Tree. So please support. I'm inviting all people in the diaspora to get your family members out that are in Jamaica. Get them, tell them to come out to the walk and walk with us. My homework for you is to get at least one person to show up at the walk next week, Thursday. So we really need your help, and we'd really appreciate your help as well. And for those who are in Jamaica that are watching this live, you need to get there or be square, right? Lady says, listening and watching from Atlanta. Okay, great. Natalie Mullings, good night to all uniters. Zane Gray says, UIC for a better Jamaica. Absolutely, 100% agree. All right, so Nezuk says he's watching, or she, I don't know if it's a male or female, but they're watching from Canada. Sorry, from Florida. Wow, where Canada dropped in. Natalie Mullings says, I'm not in Jamaica, but I'm spreading the word around. Thank you, Natalie. And thank you to everyone, all of you in the diaspora and here in Jamaica as well, that are spreading the word and telling people about the UIC. We really appreciate it. Okay, so we're gonna get into the meat of the matter, and of course, we have to bring in the master teacher, right, to help us understand the trickery that's happening right before our eyes. It's like they're magicians. They think they're magicians, but Mr. Patterson is here to kind of break down. You ever watch that show? I forgot the name of the show. It's two guys, a fat guy and a short, slim guy, and they basically invite magicians to come on the show and um, perform a magic trick, and they will like watch the trick and say, "Oh, you did this and you did that and whatever." And basically, the whole aim of the show is to have a magician that actually does a trick that they don't know, right? Well, Mr. Patterson is that person that is, kind of telling us what the tricks are, what's happening behind the scenes, what they're doing when they say "ha" and they're doing something behind their back. He unveils all of that for us. So we're going to bring in Mr. Patterson, but before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about the microfinancing industry. So I don't know if you guys have heard or know, but there's been a law that was recent. There was a law that was recently passed for the microfinancing industry. It was passed in January of 2021. A law or legislation called the MicroCredit Act 2021. It was passed in January of 2021, and basically the idea behind, the MicroCredit Act was to start licensing and regulating basically the microcredit institutions. So these are small institutions that would give small loans to micro and small businesses, and maybe even personal individual loans as well, but mainly targeted to the small and micro enterprises, because they, as it relates to how the banking sector is set up, it's really hard for them to get a loan from the bank, right? Okay, so we had these, because the loans for the banks were so hard to get for small and micro enterprises. Some person came up with an idea: let's provide funding for these small businesses, small loans, right? And it became a thing. So now the government is cracking down on the industry, and the aim of the MicroCredit Act was to basically regulate the industry to provide, and I quote, financing to individuals and micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. So they're regulating the space, right? Now, this MicroCredit Act legislation seeks to, among other things, license microfinance institutions, those are MFIs, and bring them under the regulatory supervisions of the BOJ, the Bank of Jamaica. It also seeks to protect customers or consumers by discouraging microcredit institutions from lending money at excessive interest rates. It also seeks to outlaw predatory lending practices, threats, and intimidation, also to promote greater transparency through the disclosure of lending rates and other terms of loan products, as well as reduce the risk of the industry being used to facilitate money laundering. So this is what they say. Sorry, this is what they say the legislation is supposed to be doing, right? So that's kind of the background. Oh, well, another thing that I should say is, so the law was passed in 2021, January 2021. And they had a time period, basically, for all existing microfinance institutions or institutions that provide this kind of financing to get registered, right, under the legislation. So that was up till July of 2021. And then there was a 12-month grace period, if you will. So that would have taken us to July this year, when the act became or came fully into existence. So between January 2021 and July 2021, there was a grace period, and even after then, there was another 12-month grace period that institutions would have gotten. According to the Minister of State in the Ministry of Industry, Dr. Norman Dunn, he said that although the legislation passed in January 2021, the government has allowed time for entities to get ready. There is going to be a commencement date in July, which was July 2021. So that's when it started. But you will have a 12-month transition period within which to submit applications for licensing to the BOJ. So you had to submit an application to the BOJ to be licensed as a microfinance institution, a registered microfinance institution, right? So that's kind of the background of what we're working with. And I want to bring in Mr. Patterson now and have him kind of clarify, the wording, because, you know, they say one thing, but, you know, there's always some meaning behind it, or some other thing that they're saying that they're not saying. You know, they're not saying something, so what they're not saying is really what they're saying. Kind of I don't know if that makes sense. So hopefully Mr. Patterson will be able to hopefully Mr. Patterson will be able to clear that up for us. Good evening, Mr. Patterson. How are you doing? Oh, wait, I think you're muted. Hold on.
Me on mute. Me on.
Okay, go ahead. You on mute. Yeah, you on mute. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Harper. It's my pleasure to be on again tonight. And this topic is particularly up my alley because of my own background and as a chartered accountant. And I have been on the board of one of the world's largest microfinancing institution for about almost 6 years. At that time, I think our valuation was around $146 billion spread across a number of countries. So it's an area I'm quite familiar with. But let me just say that you're 100% correct that it's some smokes and mirror here. So the bottom line is they're telling us that there's a huge problem that they're trying to solve. The problem is you have all these micro lending institutions, MFI, microfinancing institutions, and people lending money, and they want to fix the problem. They want to save us from these big bad organizations that are out there doing bad things, you know, giving us high interest loans and having predatory lending policies and probably doing money laundering, and they want to save us from all of that. But what is interesting is that the greatest and biggest money launderer is the banking system itself.
Exactly.
The greatest and biggest fraudulent monetary system is the monetary system itself. So here we have some big time criminals who are trying to save us from some small time criminals. You know, obviously, right, they're telling us that these people are criminals. These small lenders are criminals, potential criminals, money launderers. They're going to charge exorbitant fees. So what I want to do tonight is to just help us to see who the real criminal is and what really need to be afraid of. So far in Jamaica, up until the law was passed and now being fully implemented, you had a lot of people giving loans to a lot of people. Now, what has gone wrong with these people giving loans? Absolutely nothing at all has gone wrong. In any business practice, you're going to have two things that you have to worry about in any business practice, whether it's giving loans or selling soft drinks or selling peanuts. You have two problems in any area of society. Problem number one is somebody trying to use force to get their way. So they try to force something on somebody. That's problem number one. When you have force being used in any transaction, that is wrong. That's violence. Force is a form of violence. It's me saying, give me your money or else I'm going to bash your head in, or I'm going to do something bad to you. Give me your money. That's theft. That's, use of force. Then the second thing you can have in any industry is fraud, where somebody does not tell you the truth about what they're offering. So they might tell you that they're offering you lemonade made from sugar, water, and lime, but it may not be true. Maybe they're using a fake sugar. So it's not real sugar, it's aspartame, and they tell you a lie that it's real sugar. So that's fraud. So the purpose of government is to protect us from those two things, to say, if anybody tries to use force to get your money from you or use fraud to get your money from you, we're going to prosecute them. So now let's look what's happening in the market before the government gets involved. Currently in the marketplace, a person can put up a shingle and say, I would like to lend money to people. Who would like to borrow money from me? Nobody is forced to borrow a dime from that person. If they borrow the money from that person, they're entering into a contract. So the two parties sign a contract to say, I am lending you X amount of money, and you're agreeing to pay back that money over such a period of time at such an interest. Now, the person who is borrowing that loan, the only reason they're borrowing that loan is because they want to borrow that loan.
Right.
They're not being forced to borrow it. Now, they may later on come back and said, well, it's too expensive for me. Now, what should you be doing there? We should ensure we have an education system where a person can calculate simple interest and compound interest, where a person can forecast what will be the cost of me borrowing this and what is the value of this to me. So for example, do I want to borrow money to get my hair done to go to a dance tonight, and at the end of it I will not have any value to use to pay back that loan? Or do I want to borrow money to expand my chicken business by another 50 chickens, which will allow me to pay off the loan with ease based on the factors in point here? So what the government has done is to solve a problem which isn't there. But why are they solving this problem? They're solving this problem because the microfinancing institution is a direct competitor to the banks,
Yeah.
to the big banks. Now, they already created a banking act which says you cannot design any kind of banking operation unless you come to them for permission and let them regulate you. So the only people who can operate in the banking space to say take what they call a deposit is a bank which is regulated under the acts that they have. And the act that they have in place is designed to keep that club very small and controlled by a few, which I call the banking cartel. So every time they change the banking act, it is to maintain that monopoly of a few persons having access to the market to be able to create quote unquote banking products. Now the microfinancing side of it is encroaching on the lending side of the bank. They can't encroach on the savings side of the bank because the bank has gotten the government to effectively lock out anybody else out of the market and give that into the hands of a few banking cartels. Recently, they expanded the Banking Act to include credit unions so that they can pull the credit unions in as well. And what does that do? It creates so many rules and regulations so the credit union can no longer be a bank for the poor man. It can no longer be a bank that allows the poor man greater flexibility, lower interest when the credit union wants to do that, and make them partners and owners of the scheme so that the money, if profits are made, is going back to the community. So the purpose of the banking regulations is to systematically, unobservedly, in a tricky way, by stealth, make sure that they get rid of any possibility of the poor man finding any form of banking product for himself that will work for him in his context, in his community. They want to make sure they wipe out all community solutions possible and concentrate that power of banking and the wealth of banking in the hands of a few. So now here comes the microfinancing. People lending money to people. Me lending money to you. Now that is illegal. I can't lend you any money and you can't lend me any money because yes, we can do it, but once there's a problem and we go to a court of law to resolve it, they would say, you can't resolve it here. You should not have been engaged in the business of lending money to anybody. So the borrower now will always be on the side of success. I can borrow $1 million from you, and then if we go to court, you must lose because you should not have been lending. So what you're going to do, Douglas Harper, you're going to stop lending. You will not lend. The more you learn about this, you're going to be hands off. I'm not going to get involved. So that is going to dry up liquidity in the market. It is going to make sure that those persons who have excess cash who would want to lend directly, no, they have to go and give that money to the bank and let the bank lend it on their behalf, where the bank will get the bigger slice of the returns, and you and I, as private lenders, will never be able to find an avenue of using our excess savings to gain returns legally and honestly by trading with our fellow men. Do you see why the UIC always talks about allowing people the freedom to trade value for value with each other? This is what they want to cut out. They want to make sure that all of us are completely constrained and only have one option to go and beg a job. That's the option they want, all of us to go beg a job. So as time progresses, you're going to find that less and less small business will have less opportunity to exist. They'll be shutting you down either directly like they did 2 years ago or indirectly by gradually tightening the reins so that you cannot access capital and you cannot operate because the laws and rules will become so onerous. Now, you know who can meet all of those laws and rules? Those with billions of dollars. You know who can meet all the fit and proper requirements they place on microfinancing institutions? The biggest ones. So the biggest ones, the big guys, they're very happy for these regulations because it will kill the small guys. Right now, most of the small operators are getting ready to sell their business to the bigger operators. And eventually the bigger operators will be sucked up by the banks. And you will have a monopoly fully again, where the big banks control everything. Right now, there's no problem in terms of high interest rate. What is a high interest rate? Let's think about it. They said, okay, they want to prevent exorbitant interest rate. What is an exorbitant interest rate? There's no such thing. The highest interest rate you can have is the one a person is willing to borrow at. That's the highest interest rate. So if you have an interest rate of 100%, nobody will borrow at 100% unless they're such a low, they're so low in their productivity that they cannot get money to borrow at less than that because they're not a valid risk, they're not a reasonable risk, and they cannot therefore access lower. The purpose of interest rate, and listen to me carefully on this one, the purpose of an interest rate is the same purpose as a price for any product in the marketplace. So let's say you and I go to borrow a loan, Douglas, and in a free market, not in a manipulated market. In a manipulated market, you have all kinds of problems. But if we had a true free market and you and I went to borrow a loan, what the borrower, the lender would look at is how stable is Douglas? So let's say Douglas is married, he has one child, he owns his house. When you look at his financial affairs, you see that he has managed himself, very well. So the lender would say, yeah, we can trust Douglas. When we look at all of his situation and look reasonable, so I'm going to lend Douglas $1 million at 10% because Douglas look very stable. They come check out Mr. Patterson. What is the situation? Well, he is a renter. He has not really stayed at any one of those places very long. Normally his rental seems to be around a year and a half, and then he's moved on to somewhere else. He's not married, doesn't have any children. He hasn't built up much of any assets. So the lender is going to say, you know what? I want to let him know. I like his ideas. It seemed like him can do something. But based on his performance so far, you want to edge your bet a bit. So I'm going to make sure his loan is at 25% to price in the risk that is involved here. That's the purpose of interest rate. Now, when you take away that from the marketplace, what you're doing now, you're causing those who would lend otherwise to move themselves out of the market. So what you're going to have now, small businesses, micro businesses, let's say a man who sell clothes on the street, he manage to get some money and import some clothes, some shoes, and so on. And his gross turnover for the year is probably $1.5 million for the entire year. His gross turnover. That's a micro person, right? He wants to borrow a loan. He goes to the bank. The bank says, "Where's your collateral?" Ask me about my collateral. The bank says, "Let me see a financial statement." But not the financial statement. So what? Oh, let me see your situation. What your background look like. Well, I just left school when I was 16 and once I try a thing, I rough it out and I find a little thing when I sell some clothes and stuff and him tell where I go on. The bank says, "Sorry, I can't deal with you. You don't fit the profile." Him go to a microfinancing lender now who is willing to take the risk and he lends him $100,000 and he charges him 50% interest rate. Lord of mercy, that is high for argument's sake. 50% interest rate over, say, 1 year. And the government, a politician will come to you and say, "Oh, that's astronomical." But guess what? There's nobody who's willing to lend him the $100,000. This micro borrower now, he knows how he's going to turn over that 100,000 and pay his 50%. And I'm just using that as a number. He knows how he's going to do it. And guess what? He does it. He borrows the $100,000, he pays it off plus interest, and then finds himself now is $1.5 million micro business is now at $2 million. And he's able to go back and borrow another 100,000 at an exorbitant interest rate. And guess what? He now moves up from $2 million to $4 million. He's rotted. Look at him. Just the other day, I see him also. So now him buy a little vehicle and put it on the road as a taxi. You understand?
Right.
What the government is doing now, they're about to eliminate more of those opportunities and force you to go to the bank and beg, and also ensure the bank expands its portfolio more so that every year it makes billions and billions and billions of dollars while the poor man can't seem to find a way out. In fact, most of the poor men will not be able to access any capital because they're going to dry up the market, and only those who can manage to squeak through with the bank or the monopolized microfinancing institution will have access to any loans.
Very interesting points you said there, Mr. Patterson. One thing I'd like to bring up is you mentioned about the smaller micro financing institutions drying up, either stopping from lending or actually being bought out. I saw an article the other day where there are two micro financial institutions that are buying up all of the other small ones. So I think it's Dollar Financial and Access Financial. It's a bidding war going on between the two of them now to who can buy out as many of these other.
And look what will happen when they buy out these smaller micro, because what you have, currently you have a very competitive micro lending environment, very competitive. Now, when you have a very competitive environment, that drives down price.
Right.
And what would eventually happen, more and more Jamaicans will stop going to the banks with their lots of paperwork and whole heap of requirement and high interest rates in different ways. Because what the bank does, you say the big banks, they're allowed to trick you in how they manipulate the way they tell you about interest. But the government wants to remove the ability of the small entities from tricking you. They want the small entities not to be able to trick you by hiding the truth about how much the interest really is. But the big banks are allowed to trick you. So the bigger they are, the more they're allowed to trick you. The smaller you are, they don't want to allow you to trick anybody. They want you to be crystal clear about the effective interest rate that you're charging. Now, the end result of all of this is that they're going to reduce competition in the marketplace and concentrate this business in the hands of a few. Now, these two big micro enterprises that you're talking about, it's very possible, very, very possible that they are one of two things or both. One, they're very aligned with the political powers and therefore are influencing the regulations. And two, worse than that, they may then be the subject of a takeover of one or more of the banks. In fact, they may in fact already be underwritten by one or more of the banks. For example, NCB, for example, under the astute leadership of Michael Leachin, may have already figured out how they can be funneling money to their preferred micro enterprise entities that they have made very big. So it's really still NCB, but it's operating as an independent body, but it's really still collecting exorbitant interest, which it passes back by way of profits to NCB through its holders. Now, I'm only using the word NCB. It could be Scotia. It could be any one of them. But I'm saying these are the kind of tricks that our politicians engage in while telling us nice, fanciful stories about how they're seeking to protect our rights. The way to protect the Jamaican people is to allow the free market to operate, allow competition to exist fully without unnecessary government regulation. The only regulation we need in any sector, the primary regulation you need in any sector is very simple. Are you using force to get your way? If yes, shut it down. Are you using fraud to get your way? If yes, shut it down. But if the person is not using force or fraud, leave them alone. Don't put now, here's what they're doing. Don't put now excessive burdens on this entity. Here's a small entity, a mom and pop operation. You and your wife, Douglas, decide that you work hard. And from your job, you save up a little $2 million. And you say, you know what? I'm going to lend out this $2 million to any little small business, see who want a little money to kind of help them out. So you're going to lend this $2 million. So you take $2 million, your savings, your money, a fee your money, and you take the risk. And you're now going to take this $2 million and you're going to break it up now, let's say maybe into 8 or 10 or 20, whatever parts you want, and lend out little to a few small businesses. By the way, that's something I have done. Lend out some money to a few small businesses. And because of your skillful management of relationships with these people and guidance to help them navigate how to build your little small business up, then now you get back your 2 million plus another 2 million on it. So now after 2 years of being in business, you and your wife have moved from 2 million to 4 million. You have not done anything wrong. In fact, you have done this economy a great service.
Exactly.
You would have worked hard, saved 2 million you could have spent. You could have spent that 2 million, eat a food, enjoy yourself, go for a vacation in Florida or wherever, but instead you reinvested this money in the economy. And you helped 50 small micro entities to move their business from 1 million to 1.5 or from 2 million to 3 million, whatever it is. But you have now helped by earning, saving, and investing. But the government does not want you to invest freely. They want to set up structures that are linked to their political interests, that are linked with their political economic masters, that will make sure they lock up the market. So, for example, they will make sure you must go to only certain institutions to do investments. You cannot invest freely. If you invest freely, you're breaking the law. Whose law? Why are there laws to prevent you from investing your money freely? Why must there be laws to say if you want to invest, you have to go over into one of their designated arrangement in order to invest. Otherwise, anybody who invests with you or advises you are illegal. The reason they're doing that is because they want to shut out all opportunities from me and you and make sure the opportunities for making a profit is concentrated in the hands of a few. And the few are those who fund their political parties, who fund their campaign, and keep them as the only monopolistic political entities in front of the eyes of the Jamaican people. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, and they're playing the long game as well. So by the time those two microfinancial institutions are bought out by the big banks, nobody's going to remember. Nobody's going to care. Everybody's going to be, dollar got bought out by so much millions of dollars, and and nobody's going to remember that. Hey, these
when
two
most Jamaicans don't even know what's happening right now. They don't even know about this new law and the changes. Right. They're going about their daily business. What they will eventually notice is, how come I can't get the money for borrow again?
Yeah.
How much can I get the money? But it will happen slowly, gradually. And then they're back to only the banks and the big concentrated powers will have that. But here's another problem, Douglas. Why are we borrowing so much? Why are the Jamaican people right now, Jamaica, we have one of the highest debt per person in the world. Many Jamaicans now are living on debt and credit. Now, microfinance is not the problem. The problem is, why do we have an economy now today where most persons are living on credit? We're not even talking about borrowing now from micro business. They're borrowing just to stay afloat week after week after week. Why is this? That is because of the government. They have destroyed our economy and pushed us on the brink where we're living first hand to mouth and now living on credit. Jamaica 30 years ago was not living on credit. Most Jamaicans bought everything cash 30, 40 years ago.
Yes.
You save up any money and you can buy what you want. No, you can't live that way. Everybody now has to be borrowing money just to live. Between each paycheck, most people are borrowing money between this paycheck and the next paycheck in order to survive in between. Why is this? One simple, solitary reason: the government of Jamaica. They are the reason why life is getting harder and harder and harder and harder for us. Why? Because every one of their policies are designed to impoverish the majority of Jamaicans and to enrich a few. If you think me a lie, look on it. Since the government is in charge, gradually they kill banana, they kill coffee, they kill sugar, they kill cocoa. Every single industry they're in, they kill it, and they concentrate, always trying to make one man or a few men in control of everything. So you can't trust them. So every time you hear them tell you that they're bringing a law in to help you, a lie. As soon as they tell you that, say, no. What is the truth here? What are you really doing? Are you trying to stop me from suffering from high interest rate? A lie you tell. I will still suffer from high interest rate. For example, take NHT. It's supposed to be a benefit, right? What is the real cost to you of NHT? A, they first take the money out of your pocket by force, right? So they take your money from you by force. If you're poor, you have no chance of ever getting a loan. Yes, you can get a refund, but when you get the refund, the value of that money would have depreciated to nothing. So if they took $1 million from you over the course of whatever period of time, when you get it back, it worth $250,000. So it doesn't matter. Okay, so that is a lie. Secondly, when you borrow the money now, you're borrowing back your own money as well, right? Plus the other 75% who you have stolen from through the government. You've borrowed that money. It will not be enough, because the value of houses will be too high. So you have to go and borrow the rest from the big banks. They're going to put you on a lovely plan which will take you about 30 to 40 years to pay this off, which means they'd have robbed all of your pension money, the money you should have put into your pension to save for your retirement. You have given that to the bank in a mortgage. So they have killed you. They have wiped out 30 years of your life financing the bank and leaving you destitute at retirement. Now watch this. When you finally retire, 30 years from now, you just pay off the mortgage if you're lucky.
Right.
But you don't have no money saved for your retirement. And even if you had money in your retirement, they would have depreciated the value of that money anyway, so you're poor nonetheless. And on top of that, you will be charged a property tax every year by the government, which will stress you to death as a poor pensioner, because now you earn less, your savings no value nothing, you gave the bank all your money for 30 years in a mortgage, and here comes the government saying, if you don't pay your property tax, we're going to take away your property. This is what I'm talking about. So they have boxed us into a life of poverty. Yes, you might not be poor now because you still can hustle and run your taxi, or hustle and while you're on your job, you do something on the side. But as you get older, you will lose that capacity to hustle. And then the staunch reality will come hitting you smack in the face that, Lord of mercy, me now have no money. I am now 65 years old. Nobody no want to hire me now. They might hire young people. Eh? The mortgage suck out all of my savings. The picnic them school fee was sky high to go to university. So me now have no money saved from that either. And what little me have as a pension, the value of that is worth nothing because of inflation. But wait a minute. Didn't the same government told us that they're going to make our bank independent so that they will control inflation? And by them controlling inflation, you will have stable, predictable inflation so you can plan your life and have no problem. Again, that is a lie. Right. Let's watch a video on that. Let's see the lie them tell us. Let's watch that video and see how they're always lying to us. It's one big bag of lie. And anybody who believes this government, not just this one, not the one today, but any of the governments from 1944, 78 years ago to today, you're foolish. They're no different from the colonial master. And that is why they want to keep us under the colonial system, because the colonial system is designed to create slaves of the masses and make a few wealthy to protect the interest of the group above. This, you see how the Queen died and they paid, what, £6 billion for her funeral? My goodness. This is our money, you know.
Our money.
It's our money that is paying a $6 billion price for a dead woman. $6 billion.
And
yeah, go ahead.
And I mean, this is, she stole from us. I mean, it's crazy. It's like, here someone comes into your house, steals your things, takes away, and they die, and you have to pay for their funeral. I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
No, I mean, how can you spend $6 billion when people are suffering? The people in UK right now, they're suffering from high utility bills, big bills, they can't pay it. The bills have gone up like 400%, 500% in their bills, and they're going to spend $6 billion. And we have a prime minister who is telling us, the people who have suffered, that we must mourn for 12 days. We should be mourning. We should be mourning for the 78 years that we have wasted voting for these two parties. Wasted believing that they would fix our lives. That's what we should be mourning for.
All right, so the one with the government, the BOJ governor, that's the one you want to play?
Let's play the funny one first. Let's show them how they use song and dance.
Okay.
How they use song and dance to fool us. Watch this video on how they use music. They always use music to fool us because they don't educate us, you know. They don't make sure we truly understand money and understand economics. They just come and fool us up with some nice music. And in this video you're going to watch, you'll see how they fool us up about inflation, how they're going to manage inflation, and how the way to do that is for them to give away the Bank of Jamaica and make it independent. They gave away $20.6 billion to private hands to make the BOJ independent of the government, which makes it independent of me and you, the citizens, and by extension, they have given away the responsibility of managing our monetary policy to defend the purchasing power of the Jamaican dollar. Do you have it ready, Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Go right ahead. Let's watch the joke. Watch the trick.
stable inflation, predictable still and low. Inflation targeting the way to go. There was a singing happening, the car driving all over Kingston, the car showing finance, showing industries, showing everything.
The inflation targeting campaign also includes signs on electronic billboards, about 20 of them across the island.
The way in which you've used reggae to explain inflation targeting. No other country has ever done that. So, congratulations for that.
I've been speaking to people in Jamaica saying how proud they are at the moment of...
Yeah, this is, I think, the only reggae music video discussing inflation that I've ever seen by now. You know, there's a great expression in the patois. It's, we lickle, but we talawa, and it means we're small, but we're fearless, and it really shows in stuff like that. I love the patois. Yeah, very nice.
What I'm seeing is a music video about the Jamaican economy featuring like a souped up race car and exchange rates.
Some consumers can buy more goods with them cash. She's driving to the central bank, and in the background we've got all this reggae music explaining what the central bank's doing about inflation.
Inflation targeting the way to go.
What is the backstory behind this?
What was interesting was there was a series of videos that was released on Twitter addressing inflation and monetary policy. Talk to us about how that came about.
Responded by originating a series of videos designed to bring the Jamaican people into the conversation, into this big change that we're making, this policy change. We have legislation to make the central bank independent. So monetary policy, the implementation of it will be independent of the executive, and moving towards an inflation targeting regime as a cornerstone of monetary policy. And it was very important to communicate to the Jamaican people in the best way possible. And the fact is that in Jamaica, whether you're communicating about a glass of juice or beer, or you're communicating complex monetary policy, music helps music helps the communication effort. And they wouldn't have expected the video to have received as much attention as it did, but very happy that the message is getting across to the Jamaican people.
Did it go viral? Did it go viral, the videos?
The video, yes, the video went viral, absolutely. Measured by the number of times it was shared and the number of times it was viewed, it went viral and it was seen all over the world. I believe the central bank got comments from monetary policymakers in other countries.
There it is.
Recommending.
Well, we can't listen in, but we can certainly watch it.
There we go, there's the music.
Exactly, just showing how reggae can be a form of communication.
It is Friday, so aside from mac and cheese, I also want to mention and highlight my favorite thing from the country that brought you Cool Runnings. The Bank of Jamaica released the most fire central bank video in human history. Check it out.
Use music.
So there's a song that I say, I pray for my friends to be healthy, dripping in ice, living wealthy. God never want our pocket for empty. Cut out jealousy, greed and envy, cause all we need is just love.
Horace Riley, a Jamaican reggae artist, was brought in to sing about inflation.
All the high prices that mean me harm, hey, they can go back where they came from. No inflation monster, I'll prosper, yeah. So that middle ground is what we want. Low, stable, and predictable inflation. Cause low, stable, and predictable inflation is to the economy like what the baseline is to reggae music. Listen up! It's definitely unique, and so far the response has been grand, and you know, it's gonna reach more and more people, and we have to keep the conversation going.
Some consumers can buy more goods with them cash. Committed to make the economy grow. Predictable, stable, and low. Inflation targeting the way to go.
You know that you can almost karaoke to that commercial,
right?
because
you can
that's
see
all
what they're saying. The hit, the fire lyrics there.
The only thing that came across my mind is your move, Jay Powell. What are you doing man. Like, your conference yesterday was a snooze fest compared to this.
Right?
We really need you to step it up.
Can you imagine if Jay Powell just auto-tuned everything that he said in every conference? But also, the fact that their inflation target, this thing right here, it looks like a heat-seeking missile. I don't understand what the...
No, the drone is overseeing the economy there, and yeah, it's targeting inflation.
I just love it, though. It's just something that, you really, I don't know. We need something like that.
Yeah, or we just need to go to Jamaica and see what it's all about.
I haven't been yet.
They're doing whatever it takes to get more clients, right? Imagine if Bank of America did something similar to that.
Exactly. So they need to talk to Jamaica. Jamaica's sending them a hand.
I just think the video needs to be shown in econ classes around the world. This is something that everyone needs to see.
Yeah, so you see the nice dog and pony show, the great entertainment. And by the way, this particular video was developed when the government wanted to take our minds off the foreign exchange and to focus on inflation. So they told us that the government would no longer focus on foreign exchange rate. They're going to focus on inflation targeting. And to that end, they're going to make the Bank of Jamaica independent of the executive branch of government in order for it to be able to do the right things to protect us from inflation and not allow politics to interfere with the inflation rate. And we should no longer worry about the exchange rate, because that's not the important matter here. It's the inflation rate, because that focuses on your purchasing power. Now, you would have noticed in recent times that inflation is through the roof. And so giving away $20.6 billion of our money and giving away the central bank to private hands certainly has not brought us stable, predictable, what did they say? Stable, predictable, and what? Something else. A bunch of joke, But the Jamaican people don't really pay attention to these things in the way that I do. They pay attention to the fanciful music, to the dance, to who is wearing a Clark's, who have the better dub plate, and all kind of foolishness. But at the end of the day, they suffer. We suffer. And we're going to suffer even more. If you think you suffer yet, wait until they get all of us on that digital currency, which will allow them 100% control over it. The moment they get us on that digital currency, they will have 100 totalitarian control of every Jamaican. You will not be able to sneeze without them know. And so what's going to happen is when they pass laws like this one, the Microfinancing Act, you will not be able to do anything outside of their purview. So if Mr. Harper, you find yourself with a little $500,000 and I am in need, and I come to you and say, boy, Harper, lend me 500 now. You can't lend me, because if you lend me, then I'm going to see, beep, Harper just transferred 500,000 to Mr. Patterson. And what that for? Check. Oh, he's not fit and proper. Check. He's not licensed to lend any money. Check. Lock him up. You understand? Yeah. That's where we're heading. And I know right now, most people, they see these things as far-fetched until they're fetched. Yeah. They keep waiting until they have to drop into the hole first before they realize, oh, a hole in there dig for me. So they're digging our graves. Right now, I just heard the news today. I was driving in my car. I don't normally listen because sometimes it's just overwhelming. I have to give myself special time to listen to the news. But I was driving and I heard a Ministry of Health advertisement talking about monkeypox. And they said, you must do this, and you must wear your mask. Now, the last time I checked, I heard that it wasn't airborne. And I haven't heard a law being passed that says you must wear your mask. But here is an ad paid for by the government of Jamaica that says you must wear your mask. Now, these are the kind of things that an intelligent society would not put up with. But they have made sure that the Jamaican society is not half of it as intelligent as it needs to be. They have made sure, they have made sure systematically over the years that they have dumbed down and dunced down the people of Jamaica so that they cannot see what is coming until it broadside them. You understand? It's only when them broadside, then we start to react now. And when we're reacting, it's too late. We're hand up, we're foot chain up. Look at the tax now. When the government overcharged them to the tune of billions of dollars, the Jamaican people was not incensed and joined together and say, we demand that you refund the money to those taxi drivers. No, because we don't care. As long as we can find or get my taxi going, I don't care about nothing. So they have developed a population that is divorced from understanding and participating in good governance. Yeah? And that is why right now, the UIC has more support in the diaspora than we have locally for two reasons. Reason number one, the diaspora tends to be a more educated bunch of people, because remember, the diaspora consists of the vast majority of our brain drain problem. Okay? So every time we graduate 100 students, only 30 out of the 100 is at the level that they should be at graduation. And of that 30, approximately 90% of that 30 will immigrate or migrate. So the best of us, of the 30 out of every 100, 20 of them, about thereabouts, will be gone overseas. You check all your high school friends. How many of your high school friends are still here who you graduated with? You might find that those who got, let's say, I don't know what year you graduated, but back in my time, if you got 7 subjects, you're good. And it was much harder then. Now it's easy. That's another problem, because what they have done, they have dumbed down it so that you feel like you're bright. So a lot of people now who have 13 or 14 subjects feel like they're bright. No, you're dunce. I'm being honest with you. You're not as bright as you think. They have rigged the system to create more dunce people who feel they're qualified so that you behave foolishly in the way you interact with reality. You understand? So they have dumbed you down so that you don't even realize that you're dumb. And in the process, you make even more dumb decisions, not realizing you're crippling yourself, voting against yourself, making decisions that will make your life actually harder. Every time you vote for one of these two parties, you are literally voting for your own destruction, except you're among the small elite that is highly connected, that will benefit from the funds that will flow because of that arrangement. But if you're an ordinary citizen, if you are among the 90% of us who are not in that elite group, you are voting against yourself. So as I was saying, they dumb down the education system, they dumb down the nation, and they export the best of us overseas as economic refugees, and gladly look forward to us sending the remittances back home, which they then tax through GCT. Yeah. So every time you send $100 here, and your family member go and spend that 100, the government is taking 15% GCT out of that. So you don't think that remittances are not taxed? Them smart. The people we have, them are an idiot. They are smart at corruption. They're smart at theft. They're smart at robbery. They're smart at tricking us into keeping the system just the way it is. If we start to raise up Cain, they said, oh, we're going to look into making Jamaica a republic. We've put together a committee to look into it. We will have something done by next year. In my first 100 days, if you elect me, I will do this. I will do that. Damn lie. Yeah? And them lying and lying to you. And guess what? Every election time, you buy the lie. You suck up the lie. You drink up the lie. You enjoy the lie. You sit with your friends and say, I wonder who going to win. Oh, I like the funny thing there. I like the funny thing there. And we take this thing for a joke, not realizing that we indirectly are accomplices to our own destruction because of how we're approaching this thing called politics. If we were serious, the UIC would be top of the line right now. Here's why. No matter what the PSOJ do to block us, which they're doing now, They have blocked us on TV, right? Both TV stations, you hear nothing. They even find if a dog said something, they'll put the dog up and say, a dog barked today when Andrew was passing. Yeah, seriously. If a man cut a fart, they'll say a man cut a fart. But they will never tell you that the UIC says this or the UIC says that. Very, very rare, except if they get a moment to try to ridicule us or trying to corner us. But generally speaking, you do not hear about the UIC in the news. Not because we're not there, we're here. We're challenging every single position of the government. We have a position on every policy that they put out. But the people are not hearing it because the PSOJ oligarchs have colluded together. They control the media. They control the two parties. They control even social media. They can influence. They send out influencers. They send people out to go and flag our posts and to report our posts so that we get less and less ratings and so on. So they're fully at it. Now, if our people were intelligent enough to realize these things and stop being foolish and thinking, Minister the UIC, how come I not say the UIC? And they're holding us accountable. When the people you should hold accountable are those who are sabotaging you. Exactly. They are blocking the UIC from you. So stop saying the UIC is not doing. It is the government of Jamaica, the opposition of Jamaica, those two elements working on behalf of their colonial masters and working on behalf of the PSOJ. They are working to make sure you do not have an option on the ballot. They're trying to prevent you from ever being able to vote for anything but one of the two. They want to make sure that they close your eyes, block off every avenue so that you come to the settled conclusion that you don't have no hope. I don't have any hope. There's nothing else I can do. The UIC are nothing. Them not do nothing. Minister the UIC, them do nothing. Them no way. They want you to get to that place. But thank God there are some bright people out there. Today, on my phone, because it flashes on my phone, every time somebody donates, it flashes on my phone, every time. And I was very pleased today again. One person donated $100. I don't know the name. I didn't get to check. But I know the treasurer will be contacting you and telling you thanks. But one person today, maybe others, but I just saw one because I don't get to see all of them. But one person was wise enough to donate $100. You know why they did that? They donated $100 because to them, that is a vote for good governance in this country. Back to you, Mr. Harper.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention, go back to the whole dumbing down thing, because you know it's part of the game. So they dumb you down, and so they're now able to play with you. They're now able to do these ads that appeal to the little little low level kind of thinking, and so they're able to do that and distract you. Oh, look at this. It's like when you're taking a picture of a baby, or even some animals. You have these things that you kind of do this, put in front to get their attention, so they look at the camera, and then you quickly take the picture. A lot of that is happening. We'll just use music to just get the message across.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's purposely done.
Every election they use music on the people, and they're able to reach a certain class. Because the truth is, most of the highly educated Jamaican people do not vote. Most of the highly educated people, they know better. Funny enough, they know that it really doesn't matter which of the two they vote for. Occasionally, they get tricked. Like the last election, some fell for the idea of getting the 1.5 tax-free thing. Some really pull in. That one they pull on some. And believe me, these guys, every election cycle, they spend hours upon hours trying to come up with another gimmick. Whether it's Damian Crawford coming up with free water, or Lisa Anna coming up with something, or Nigel Clark coming up with they spend hours, and they're not working on fixing Jamaica. No. They're just coming up. Who can come up with the best scheme to get the votes? Now, the the guys who are funding them doesn't care. For them, it's a nice entertainment show. So for example, it was just revealed that many of the big elite companies in Jamaica funded Kamina Johnson's bid for the Commonwealth, right? For her to become the Secretary of the Commonwealth or whatever it was. Now notice, private sector companies felt it necessary to donate multi-million dollars to help the campaign of somebody to get a position in the Commonwealth. Why? What is the benefit of that to them? I'll tell you what it is. They do not want Jamaica to ever come from under the monarchy. The PSOJ oligarchies, they do not want Jamaica to be a true republic. They do not want the UIC policies to come into being. They do not want a true free market in this country. They want to continue to have a manipulated market, which they falsely tell us is a free market. But it's not a free market. It's a trick market. It's a deceptive market. It is a manipulative market. It is a monopoly disguised as a market economy. And they fool us up. The only people who face a true free market, the only people who face a true free market in this country is the poor man at the bottom, where he's free of his money and free of his intelligence and can't make any decisions. And they enjoy the benefit of ripping him off at every second. Now, so what they have done, they spent millions in order to try to push this agenda. So that tells you the Prime Minister of Jamaica and the opposition leader of Jamaica being the representative of the PSOJ oligarchy, that means them no want us to be independent either. Them no want us to be a true republic either. But they come and feign affection. When the people get agitated, they come and tell us what we want to hear.
Yeah.
The UIC, on the other hand, we're very consistent. Our manifesto doesn't change from year to year. We tell you clearly what we're going to do if you elect us. If you elect us, Jamaica is going to become a truly free and fair nation. We're going to be a true republic where your individual sovereignty is going to be protected at all costs. There will be no opportunities for government or private sector organization or colonial powers to mess with your individual sovereignty in a UIC created Jamaica. We make it very clear that Jamaica is going to have its own constitution built by Jamaicans for the benefit of all Jamaicans. We made it very clear that we're going to have a youth employment solution program so no young person leaves school and don't have a job or a gainful employment in study or trade of some sort. We made it very clear that we're going to dispel with the colonial police system and have a police service. We made it very clear we're going to make our army a truly border security to stop the illegal guns and ammunition from coming in, and we're going to string up those politicians and big people who are continuing to make this happen, because we're going to find them now. We have committed to making sure we have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission that will allow all of those who are engaged in illegal activities to come forward or suffer the consequences, which means politicians, past and present, are going to be tried for their crimes and are going to be made to punish. We have made it clear that there should be no more toll roads in Jamaica. Jamaica is too small for toll roads. We want to make sure our roads are open and accessible, well-built, well-maintained, for every Jamaican to be able to move their goods and services and themselves right across the country easily. They don't want that. The PSOJ oligarchy, they don't want a Jamaica that empowers all Jamaicans. That's why for years they have funded these two parties to keep us right where we are.
Yep.
And the only way we can break that gridlock is if we, the Jamaican people, decide to do it. It's not going to happen. And some Jamaicans, have fallen prey to this idea. They really believe in a Messiah coming to save them. They really want to see some political leader or party that's come and they just sit down and rock in their chair and wait for it to happen. No, it's not going to happen. Every one away who want a better Jamaica are going to have to get involved. Every one of us. So if you sitting there thinking that Jamaica is going to change without you getting up and do something about it, it won't happen. You have to join the UIC. You have to volunteer in the UIC. You have to donate in the UIC. You have to become a part of the solution. Because remember, nobody now going to hear about the UIC unless you tell them. On September 22nd, those that are going to watch on Facebook and say, I wonder where going to happen award theater on the 22nd, what? And you're waiting and watching for the lives to come on. No. You have to get up and come downtown Kingston to Ward Theatre and join hands with me and Douglas Harper and Neil Chase and Naika Williams, Mrs. Patterson, Winston Wright, all of them. You have to come down and join us. If you don't come, and you're there wait and say, man, wait for see what's going to happen. Guess what's going to happen? Nothing is going to happen.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to change. If you don't come, nothing is going to happen. It will just be that nothing happened and Jamaica will remain the same.
Yeah.
Back to you, sir.
All right, so we're going to go look at a video about the free banking system. So you spoke earlier about, free banking. So this video is going to kind of explain what is free banking and why should you care about free banking. So let's have a look at the video. Where is it? Okay.
Ordinary debates about monetary and banking policy take it that a government central bank, like the Federal Reserve System, will continue to provide money, and that government regulators will continue to limit what banks may do in the payment system. Here I don't want to take that for granted. I want to help you think about the idea of free banking, a system where we replace the central bank with competitive firms and free markets that provide the full range of monetary and banking services. We have to go outside the box, as they say, to think about the consequences of allowing private banks to issue money unrestrictedly and having a monetary system without a government central bank. Fortunately, this isn't social science fiction. We can draw on a rich history of free banking experiences. The successful free banking system of Scotland before 1844 is a leading illustration of the results of minimizing government restrictions on banking and money issue. But we can also look at New England before the US Civil War, Canada before the First World War, more than 50 other places where money was issued by competing private banks subject to minimal restrictions. In historical free banking systems, basic money was gold or silver coin. The coins could be privately minted, although governments usually monopolized the minting industry. Banks issued currency notes and checkable accounts denominated in standard coin and redeemable for it. To attract customers, each bank tried hard to make its notes and checks accepted at 100 cents on the dollar everywhere its customers went, because people wouldn't want to carry a money that fell to a discount or fluctuated in value. Trustworthy bankers made agreements with one another. If you accept my notes at face value, I'll accept yours at face value. As a result, banknotes became interchangeable and retailers had no more trouble dealing with many brands of banknotes than they have today dealing with checks written on many banks. Private banknotes proved more reliable over the years than government banknotes. Unlike a sovereign issuer that can devalue its own currency if it so chooses, or quit redeeming it entirely, no private bank can renounce its contractual obligation to redeem in full and get away with it in a court of law. And unlike a bank with a government-sheltered monopoly, no private bank in a free banking system can attract customers if it undertakes risky strategies, like holding inadequate reserves or making risky investments that would make the public worry about its reliability. Each bank has its reputation to protect in a system where its customers can easily turn elsewhere for money and banking services. So here's the takeaway. Money is not an exception to the rule that a free market is the most efficient system for providing goods and services. Free banking worked well. Central banks like the Fed did not come on the scene because of any free market failure to achieve efficiency. In many countries, the government created a central bank in order to have an institution willing and able to lend it money on easy terms. Today, the pressure continues on central banks to print money to pay the government's bills. As the failures of central banking systems continue to mount, the alternative of free banking deserves our reconsideration.
Okay, wonderful. So you might have heard me talk about free banking a number of times and wondering what is that? Some might think it means free of bank charges. You know, recently we had a lot of issues in Jamaica about bank fees and so on. And one politician on one of the sides is advocating for all kind of things about how to get rid of fees and so on and so forth, all of which is foolishness. It's all a game and pony show. They're just saying that to let us think that they're actually doing something. Don't forget that the very party from which this person is speaking is funded by the banks. So, everything he's saying is really just a show, and it is to create the sensationalism. Because a part of this game, by the way, the game that we're being played, is to from time to time suggest that there's something real here. There's nothing real there. It's a game. When you hear one party member get up recently and talk about we need to hang them until them teeth kin, it's a game. It's not. They know how limited our intellects are, and they play on that. So we say, yeah, see, he must stand up, he must say the right thing, a real man, that a good politician, that. No, it's a game, people. It's a game. It's a game, and they're playing us. Recently, he also said that he believed that all Jamaicans should be armed. A person should be able to get a firearm within 45 days if they are fit to hold a firearm. And I totally agree with him. But again, it's a game. They're simply taking that because it's a UIC policy, and they want to say it first. They allow one of their members to go out there and test it, see how the public is. If the public is harsh, then the Prime Minister can reel it back in and pretend as if it's just a one-man talk out there. So, and then really the policy they want. They want to test soundbite it and see how the people respond. They do that all the time. They test us all the time to see what is what. The other side, talking about the bank fees, it's a test. And if it gravitates enough, then what they will do, they will pass a law that will make it appear as if they have done something and then stick us with something else on the other side. So don't trust them. But let's talk about free banking now. Free banking, as you just saw in that video, is really about removing the monopolistic power from both government and the private sector from being able to manipulate your money supply. So what you have is allowing the checks and balances of a free market economy to run your money supply in the same way it runs the supply of any other goods or service. Now, this is a little bit more complex for most of us to understand because we were never really taught money as a subject in school, so we don't understand monetary policy and we don't understand economics. But I'll try to break it down for you. Money is a product. Money is nothing more than that. Money doesn't have any other value except the value we place on it based on our confidence or what they drill into our minds through a school system that is designed to get you to be brainwashed. Now, if you have a good monetary policy system, and I do not subscribe to free banking the way was fully described in this video, my version of free banking is slightly different. We will still have a central bank. The money will still be issued by the government of Jamaica. Well, I shouldn't say still, because right now our money is not issued by the government of Jamaica. So under the UIC, our money will be issued by the government of Jamaica. We will have a so-called central bank because we're going to have this to manage and regulate the banking sector, but not the way it is now. Instead of us regulating the banking sector to give special interests monopolistic power, we're going to regulate the banking sector to ensure a completely free market economy where any Jamaican who wants access to capital will be able to get this capital, and based on their performance in the market will have more access or less access. So as you are productive, the greater your productivity, the more capital you'll get. The greater your management of money, the more capital you'll get. The worse your performance, and let's say, for example, you're not demonstrating that you can earn and manage money properly, then your credit will go down. And this will be driven algorithmically. So it's not any banker giving you a blight or any government giving you special treatment. It will be fully linked to your own personal data set. how you perform in the market. So when you come into the market, let's say as a new student, you've graduated from university or college or trade school. Let's say you're now 25 years old. You have no credit, you have no collateral. So you come into the marketplace, the system will automatically allow you a threshold of credit. Now, I know Andrew going to teach this one too, but I have to tell you, because if I don't tell you these things, you won't trust us because you don't know what we're about. I can't afford to let you vote for the UIC as a puss in a bag. I want you to fully understand what you're going to get when you vote for us. So I tell you all these things, and I know they're going to copy it, they're going to thief it, but one thing they won't do is really implement it to benefit you.
Right.
Okay? So they will thief the sound bites, they will thief the idea, they will come up with something to mesmerize you, but they will not deliver it, because what we're giving you is a system that is going to help you, that's going to help us as a people and solve our macro and microeconomic problems. So our banking model, which I call free banking, which is similar to what you just saw, except that the money will still be controlled by government in terms of its production and its distribution. The distribution, however, will be based exactly on your personal productivity. Nothing else. So no politician will be deciding what you get or don't get. It will be based on your own personal productivity. Every single Jamaican which is born in this country or born to Jamaican parent will have access to a degree of credit immediately based on that system. As you utilize this credit, your ratings will go up and you'll have more access to capital purely on your character. So you don't have to be rich or poor. If you're poor, you will have no greater, if you're rich, you'll have no greater advantage to this system than if you're poor. So the poor child born to a parents who don't have nothing, come out here, so. The rich child born to parents who have everything, come out here, so too. They, of course, already have mommy and daddy money, so they don't need to do anything, right? So them gone. Nope, that's life. We're not hate them. We're not going to envy them. We're not going to try to pull them down, because they will be pulled down if they don't manage that money properly. So we don't have to try to pull them down. Now, the poor child coming out here, we're going to make sure so him get adequate credit to kick off him life. Now, what is going to happen? Let's say there are 100 such young persons. Some are going to make good decisions. So they're going to sky high. They're going to excel. Some are going to make bad decisions. So they're going to decline. That's just human nature. What we do to fix that is by having an education system which is no longer industrial era driven or job-based driven. We're going to have an education system that is human development driven. So those 100 students would have all gotten an equal opportunity to learn about themselves, mind, body, and personality, an equal opportunity to learn how to build effective human relationships, family, business, personal friendship. They would have understood human behavior. They would have also learned about money, the science of money, the history of money, the economics of money. So all of them will come out on a level that would have prepared them to make good decisions. Now, some will still make bad decisions alive. We can't stop people from making bad decisions. All we can do is make sure we have an educational system which actually gave them an equal opportunity to do well. And then those who choose to do bad, we have a good system to punish them. You understand? So if you choose to do bad, and your bad include using force or fraud against anybody else's life, liberty, or property, slap, or worse. You understand? And we go on from there. So the monetary system now, I can't tell you more detail. It's much more than this. I mean, I have worked it out completely. It's going to ensure, though, that every single person cannot say they never had a good start in life. They will have the access to capital, whether the parents are rich or poor. They'll get a first shot at it to be able to use that. And even if they fail, they'll get a second chance by being able to work with a smaller allotment and build up that allotment and build it up and bring themselves back up. So failure is okay. We prefer if you don't fail, but failure is a part of life. There's not a single child who learned to walk without falling. Show me a child who never fall when they're learning to walk, and I'll show you a child who have never learned to walk. You understand? So we expect that people are going to stumble, some more than others. So the system must be designed to give you a chance to recover if you stumble. That's how we're going to bring out the innovators. That's how we're going to bring out the creators. That's how we're going to bring out those who are high performers. Because I remember when I was in school as a child, I failed common entrance twice. So I'm a big time failure. I see all my little friends them pass for Calabar and Casey and Georges and Woolmers and my dunce. They call me pretty dunce. I failed both my common entrances. And then I went and took the technical entrance, and God live, I failed that too. You understand? Can you imagine that after all of that, I still came back and passed 13 subjects at a time, not today when it's easy, at a time when you had to pass all of it in the exam. You never get no SBA and no whole heap of stuff. You have to pass all of it in the exam. And I was able to pass 13 under those circumstances, get a full scholarship to study engineering at UTech, and went on to earning the CPA designation, the CGA designation, and a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting science. Now, if me can do that, having been born in a single parent home, living in a little box with 3 other siblings, sleeping head to toe, and having chimney under the bed, and a little bit of space in another room. If me can do that, it means every Jamaican can be given a shot. And what we need to do now is to create the environment that no matter how dunce you were, no matter how poor you are, no matter where you start out, the system is designed to give you a boost to be successful if you're willing to try and work hard.
Yeah.
I think we run out of time for any more videos. So let's take some questions.
Let's take some questions, yes. Yard Knight is asking, would Jackson Miller interview the UIC? I'm not sure. We'd have to ask her.
Okay, Dean Jackson Miller had me on her program in 2016. They invited myself, some persons from the then PPP, the Marcus Garvey political party, and also somebody from the NDM back then, and another independent candidate I was running at the same time with me in Northeast St. Elizabeth. And that interview, when I was on it, she made the mistake of asking me a question about why third parties cannot win in Jamaica. And when I started to answer the question, which blew her mind and blew the mind of her audience, and people fired up now and started to engage online and get excited, they cut me off and switched and move on and never invited me back.
That should be a clue, guys. Someone was saying earlier on in the comments, they were asking what happened to the PPP.
The PPP, when the government changed the laws in 2018 to make it mandatory for all political parties to now register. You might recall prior to 2018, there were really no rules for political party. So the 2 major parties that existed from the 1930s until now, they had killed the PPP earlier back then, and then some persons have tried to revive it over the years. So the PPP was existing as a fledgling little body trying to exist. But in 2018, they brought in new laws and legislation that wiped out all political parties in Jamaica and required them all to register. Now remember, the 2 major parties wrote the rules and set it up for themselves, so they immediately registered and qualified without incident. They never expected any other party to qualify. But my wife and I and others pulled together and created the UIC and went and fought and fought and fought for 10 months long until they had no alternative but to recognize the UIC as Jamaica's official 3rd political party. In that process, all the other third parties were wiped out. So none of them existed. So now it was just the other 2, and the UIC. Now, in the 2020 elections, in order for them to distract the people and cause them not to be able to focus on a sane, rational alternative, they quickly approved a fourth party in order to confuse the people. And that fourth party came on and had a lot of things to say, a lot of crazy ideas, that was, really crazy stuff, like they'll pay off the national debt in 90 days. They're going to create a kingdom of Jamaica and have an emperor, king, or whatever, all kind of stuff. And by the time all of that kerfuffle went on, people were just whatever, forget it, whatever is that. So that they always do this, eh? So be prepared. In the next election, they might approve about 50 more in order to distract you again. So, bear that in mind. Next question.
All right, so question here from Devereaux Williams. What do we need to do to get to the youths? This is vital. Well, Mr. Patterson just answered about the PPP. So what do we need to do to get, I'm assuming, get to the youth?
Well, what we need to do to get to the youth is for us all to share this with the youth and get them involved. We need to be careful, with the youth and not think that the youth need to have some soother where they don't get to understand reality. Every young people can understand what I'm talking about. So all the young people should be sent these videos and should be encouraged to think and to watch and to learn. When I was 16 years old, I was watching these stuff. I was studying these things. I mean, when I was 18, I was fully immersed in the interest of my country and what is going on. And that's why I didn't vote. And when I had the chance to vote, I did not choose any of the two parties because I was able to think and reason as an 18-year-old. So let us share all of this with the youth. We do have a youth program now called the Youth Republic. So any young person who wants to join the Youth Republic can do so by reaching out to us and becoming a part of our youth movement. But generally speaking, let's tell the youth to get involved. Let's share this information with them and let them become aware, just like you are, and discuss with them their future and why they need to understand politics and participate in it.
All right, so Liddy is asking, what plan does the UIC have for the people who are of unsound mind living on the streets?
We have a program which we call Workfare, which is going to address that. So anybody who is unable to care for themselves will be brought into that program to get help. Of course, if you have mental health issues, which means you're in some serious problems, you'll get the counseling and the attention you need. We have the GCT to dealing with these issues. So that's a huge commitment by the government. We're going to ensure that no one is left behind. And the best way to deal with mental health issues is to prevent it in the first place with good education and employment opportunities.
Yeah. All right, so I'm not seeing any other questions.
All right, wonderful, because we're now 3 minutes over our time.
Yes, so I just want to encourage everyone, please like, share, and comment. Well, you've been commenting. Drop in the comments how useful has this information been to you. And also,
let them score us, man. If you if you like what you hear tonight, if this was useful, if this was beneficial, if this was value added, give us a 10 out of 10. If it was ridiculous and hopeless and you didn't get nothing out of it, give us a 1 out of 10. And if it's somewhere between that, you give us that score as well. Give us a feedback. Let us know so we can continue to improve. Go ahead, Mr.
Dalton. Yes, so Kirk says 10. Thank you, Kirk. And also, Dalton says 5. Thank you, Dalton. Also, please remember.
Can we send Dalton a link? Let him come on and tell us why and give us 5. I'd love to hear, because Dalton has been a bit negative for some time now, and I want to understand why. Dalton, you want to talk to him? I would love to send him a link. Naika, can you get Dalton on for me? I want to hear from him personally some concerns that he has, because I've been watching him for some time now. and he has been telling, saying something like there's a problem, and I want to hear the problem. I want to understand the problem. So find out from him for me, Naika, if he's willing to come on. Dalton, can you call the number? Let him call in now.
Yes,
We'll take 5 minutes and here. Put the number on
that
screen for me. Dalton, call the 2930812 number. Call the 2930812 number. And let's talk. So far, everybody else is at 10. Thank you all so very much. No, man. Yes, Dalton, I want to hear the realist. I want you to tell me what it is. I want to hear what it is that, isn't connecting for you. What is it that I'm saying wrong or that we're saying that is not realistic? What is it that we're missing? Can you call in? Drop the link. I'm going to drop the link here, and you can call in on that. Let me see if that can work. You're going to do it. You're going to do it, Douglas?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Let's see if we can get. Here's the link, Dalton. Jump on and let us hear your concerns, because it might be quite relevant. There might be something very important that we're missing, and we want to make sure that we capture everything, because the truth is Jamaica cannot afford any more major catastrophic mistakes. We have had 78 years of it. The biggest mistake we have made is the last government. What they did to us in the last 2 years was catastrophic. Had they followed the UIC's policy, can you imagine, Douglas, if the government had followed our policy? Our policy said, don't force anything on the Jamaican people. Just provide them with the information. Give them any tools that, is lacking, because some people are poor, right? They may not have the tools. So give them the tools. Give them the information. Be inclusive so that you include all sides around the table, and be objective. And by objective, you would have provided various solutions. So for example, I discovered during that period that if you just simply did steaming and eating properly and exercising, you would have reduced the likelihood of you having a serious outcome. You wouldn't need any oxygen, and you wouldn't need any of that substance that they wanted to inject into you. So we could have saved many lives. I think we lost during that period maybe 1,500. Hold on a second. Hello, and good evening.
Good night.
Good night. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. I have a question for Mr. Patterson. Can I ask?
Yes, man. Who am I speaking with?
Jamaica in Gamer. That's my name on YouTube.
Jamaica in Gamer?
Jamaican Gamer. That's
Okay.
my name on YouTube.
Jamaican Gamer. Uh-huh.
Yes, but in real life, I'm Akeem.
Got it, Akeem. Wonderful. Well, good to hear you, Akeem. What's your question for me?
So I want to ask Mr. Patterson. If he has ever spoken to Mr. Oldest in person or over the phone, and if he has, what have they spoken about?
Okay. No, I've never spoken to Mr. Olness in person or over the phone, but I've made myself available on a number of issues, particularly during the medical crisis we had the other day. I made myself available. I met with the health minister, that's Christopher Tufton, from the one party, and then I met with the other party person as well. In that meeting, we spoke about the protocols surrounding holding an election in the midst of a pandemic. I told them that it did not make sense to tell the Jamaican people that we're in a pandemic and it's very dangerous and we need to stay separated and we need to do all these things, but then to have an election. I told them instead to utilize the provision in the Constitution of delaying the elections within the allowed time and not having it 9 months early, but rather let the 9 months be used as an opportunity to further study the conditions, further understand the virus, and make sure that we're protecting the Jamaican people. They laughed in my face and said, well, if you don't want to participate, you don't participate. They had no thought whatsoever about the lives or livelihoods of the Jamaican people, contrary to what they told us on television. Their focus was on election and winning power at all costs. Even if they were right and this virus could have killed thousands of Jamaicans, they didn't care about that. All they wanted was an election. So that was my exchange with the quasi-representative of the Prime Minister.
Your plans and your solutions, sir, are facts.
Yes, man.
More say thanks to the work where you are putting, because it's a big deal. And me at 23, you understand? And it might seem like much young people now really watch. We are watching where going, we just don't really talk about it on social media, because social media are more about drama, but more I really on the black eye with everyone one another. We talk about politics more, I understand. And Mario is I tell my friend him say, Slamania, the name is Sapatify. We go on a thing named the UIC Jamaica third party. And
wonderful.
Sometimes they really interesting, but they know them attention span sharp. I always try tell people, I can't donate, you know, because things are so wonderful. But
yes.
I always tell people, you understand?
Yes, man, and that is a donation. When you tell people, because you're volunteering, you know, when you volunteer to tell people, and for example, on September 22nd, when you gather up your friend and say, come on, make we find 25 away, and we are go down there on September 22nd and participate in the thing, that is more important than money. You understand? So I'm looking forward to seeing you and your friends, and come and make sure I can see you personally and tell you respect for all of this, yeah?
Yeah, man, definitely, sir.
Yeah, man. Thanks much. See you then. Take it easy. All right. So there you have it. Yeah? We reached the young people then. Yes. Oh, by the way, I just saw a message here in our thing. The treasurer tell me say the last person who donated tonight sent $200. So it's not just the person with the 100. So thank you very much, whoever that is. Really appreciate it. All right. What's the next question?
So Devereaux has a question. What are your views on Garveyism? I think his philosophy will be beneficial to the African majority within this country. I am one of the youth, by the way, new to the system.
Wonderful. Devereaux Williams, appreciate that. My views on Garveyism is that Garvey is the man that we are to emulate when it comes on to thinking about where Jamaica should go. Garvey said something which is very important, which lives on to this day and is a testimony to his greatness. He said, any leadership that would lead you to depend on another race is a leadership that will lead you into slavery. Yeah? And guess what? That's exactly what the two parties have been doing. They have led us to depend on another race, and they are leading us right back into slavery. So Garveyism inspires me, inspires the UIC. His philosophies and teachings, which are based around liberating the minds of men so you can liberate the bodies of men, is what we employ in the UIC. And so we welcome your thinking, and we also welcome the idea of, getting our Africanness back in the forefront of our lives. And that's why we're going to advocate for and put in place an Afrocentric education system. Thank you very much. Next question.
Not question, but comment from Paulette. Okay, there we go.
Go ahead.
That's a lovely call. Glad to know we're reaching out to these youths. These are the young disenfranchised.
Yes, Paulette, and if you notice, this young man a while ago just called in because he wanted to make it clear to all of us that the UIC is reaching the youth. And there are many young people. There's even JMH. I think JMH is what, like 24 4 or somewhere there. We have people like Mr. Downer, Rashid Downer. He's actually 15, not even 15 yet, 14 plus.
14, yeah.
And then you have persons like Adriana, who is 17. You have Rashid, who is 17. You have Natasia, who is 17. You have our very own treasurer, powerful treasurer, who is doing very, very well as a young leader in the movement. She's 22 years old, if my memory serves me right. So we have lots of young people, you know. You might not see them yet, but they're there. Next comment or question. Did that person call in? Did Mr. what's his name?
I'm not seeing Dalton.
I want to hear from him. Him is why we're here, because we want to hear Dalton.
Oh, hear from you, Dalton. I don't know if he's trying to get on. So.
Dalton, let us know if you're having problems getting us. Maybe I can call you. You know, send us your number in private and we'll call you, because I want to hear from you.
Answer to Trevor Hines. Trevor Hines asks, so that means you'll be teaching Garveyism in school?
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll be teaching. It's not even Garveyism that we're going to be teaching so much. We're going to be teaching the true history of the African race. We're going to be teaching the truth about every subject, the truth about money, the truth about science and technology. For example, there are many inventors who are black men and women who have been overlooked, written out of the history books, and we don't hear the truth about their contribution to aerospace technology, to artificial intelligence, to the basic idea of machines and that kind of stuff. So we want all of the truth. We're a truth party. Our movement is about the truth, the whole truth, and then nothing but the truth. Sometimes the truth will hurt. For example, I'm not big on us. I want us to get reparation, for example, but reparation is less important to me than repairing the minds of our people. I want to repair the minds of our people. Reparation of the mind, not just some money. Because if tomorrow the colonial masters were to give us billions of dollars for reparation, we'd be no better off than we are today. I can assure you. The money will come, it will done, and we might even be dumber than before we got the money. So I want to repair the minds of our people so that we can actually produce the money, even produce far more than what they extracted from us, and then take control of our economy, take control of our lives, and become that superior group of people that we are. Not superior than others, because I don't want us to be superior than them. I want us to be our full self. And by our full self, we will now be truly superior. Deborah would like to call in. Go ahead, man. The number.
Call in, man. Let me post the number.
Yeah. So call in on WhatsApp. Call me on WhatsApp on the number 2930812. So call me on the 2930812 number on WhatsApp, because the other number is at the office. Or the other office.
Kirk is asking, is it possible to have a call-in program?
Yes, it's possible, and we're going to do it.
It's possible.
Yes, we're going to make it happen.
Another question here by Paulette. What do you think about renaming some of our streets, districts, towns, even parishes that are names after colonial masters?
All of them.
And slave owners.
All of them, Paulette. I mean, of course, we're not going to do everything right away, because you have to maintain some stability. But yes, we will be open to renaming even some of these places we name after politicians. I want to get rid of that. You have, P.J. Patterson Highway. What has P.J. Patterson done to have a highway named after him? Yes, he is the longest serving prime minister. He won the most elections, but that's not to our benefit. He's also the prime minister who oversaw the greatest transfer of wealth from poor people to rich people during the FinSAC era. So why is a street named after him? How is he more significant than Bob Marley or Louise Bennett, for example, who have added some great contribution to our culture and richness? You have a highway named after Edward Seaga. To what extent? Under his leadership, some 800 Jamaicans were murdered. Under his leadership, some garrisons communities were developed. So what is there to name after him? You have Portia Simpson Miller Square. What has Portia Simpson Miller done? What? Just because she's the first woman prime minister? We're not here about gender and sexism. We're here about production and performance. So if they perform outstandingly, then yes. So like Marcus Garvey now, that's the name you want to have. You should have Marcus Garvey as the name of our capital. Yeah? So instead of Kingston, it's Garvey, for example. You understand? So you talk about Jamaica and the capital of Jamaica, it's Garvey. You can call him Saint Garvey if you want. Next question or comment.
Next question. How will we combat American imperialism? How will we equip our citizens to prevent any further meddling in our politics? Maybe too early for that still.
Thank you, Deveru. Great question. The best way to combat American imperialism is not to try to combat American imperialism. Focus on empowering our people with the form of education that we're talking about, and freeing our people to be as productive as they can be. And in the end, you will have, nobody can push us around. If we educate our people and empower our people, nobody can meddle in our politics. What are we going to meddle with? It's only when we're dunce they can meddle in our politics. The duncer we are, the more they can meddle. The more educated and informed we are, the more nobody can come trick we and push we around. So that's what we're going to do. All right?
All right.
Dalton is at work, so he can't join us. Understood, right. Dalton? No problem.
How will you interact with the WEF, New World Order?
Okay, so again, the way we will interact with the world is by ensuring that we empower our people at home. We're going to be diplomats. We're going to be diplomatic. We're not going to get into any unnecessary wars or unnecessary problems. You see, like back in the 70s when a certain leader of Jamaica got into, public spat with the Americans and stuff. We don't want none of that. We're going to respect the Americans, respect the Chinese, respect the Indians, respect everybody. And we're going to be open for trade. We're going to be open for dialogue. We're going to be open for all kinds of things. But one thing we're going to make sure that we do is fix our yard. Make sure we have a safe environment, a clean environment, an orderly environment with children and adults who are well-educated, well-informed, and who are intellectuals. We're going to make sure our people can think, can reason, analyze, and make good decisions because we have empowered them with the education and the tools to do so. After that, nobody can mess with me.
Paulette is saying she wants to send you a list of names she's already come up with.
Oh, what? Please do. I would love to have them for sure.
And she says, I have Saint Anne named after Garvey. Well, I mean, Anne Garvey.
Yeah, that makes sense because, that's where he was from. So that's a good one. Remember, you also have Bob Marley to deal with, and you have Louise Bennett to deal with, and some other great Jamaicans as well. But we can do it. And also some Africans. We can incorporate some African, information.
Definitely. President Patterson, when you win the election, it can't happen overnight, but do you think you can take Jamaica to the level of Singapore with good economy, or even Rwanda where women can walk any hours?
Yes. African Rain, I can tell you this. The moment the UIC wins the election, you're going to see major differences. One, because all the criminals in Jamaica at the time will now know they do not have the government on their side. That's number one. That will be a game changer. They won't have any cover coming from the political side of things. They might have cover in the private sector. They might have cover from even external forces, but they won't have any cover from the government. And yes, within the shortest possible time, Jamaica will be the equivalent of a Singapore or Rwanda. It's going to happen very fast, actually. Why? Because Singapore had to build what it built without the benefit of an example to work from. We are fortunate now unfortunate because of our former leaders, but we're fortunate now in that the UIC will bring a kind of leadership that will not try to recreate the wheel. We're going to improve on it. So we're going to learn from everyone who is doing something good and implement that. So for example, the Netherlands, we're going to learn from them on agriculture and master what they have done and do it even better. From Singapore, we're going to learn from what they did on corruption. Rwanda, we're going to learn what they have done in their social and economic development, how they were able to bring together diverse groups, and we're going to build on that and master that for the benefit of Jamaicans.
Comment here by Alvin Daly. Good night, Mr. Patterson. I heard you said that the media is not giving you any exposure. I asked Dervon Malcolm to have an interview with you. He's on Power 106. Can you get in touch with him soon?
Sure. We will. I will have our team reach out to him and see if he's serious. Maybe we'll see if he's interested. We'll let you know. We'll come back here and report back to you, Alvin Daly. Thank you.
Jamaican Gamer is saying we should put the African flag. Oh, sorry, that's not it. We should put the African flag around the country to show that we are a serious ally.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Jamaican Game Changer. We definitely need to revisit the flag. It's kind of now a part of our bloodstream. It's a lovely flag, the one we have now. But we can have two flags. We can have another flag that shows our solidarity with Africa, which we definitely will be building.
What do you think about merging democratic socialism and Garveyism together to create a new form of governmental system never before seen? I believe we have the ingredients to do it.
So Devereaux, we have actually already designed a system. It's called a non-partisan constitutional republic. So it's not democratic socialism. It definitely encompasses the spirit of Garveyism, which is to protect and develop the individual so that he can achieve his full potential. So in a sense, we're there already. Now, one of the objectives of democratic socialism, which it failed to achieve, was to ensure that we help the poor to become homeowners. The idea that came out of democratic socialism was the NHT, which, as you can see, has failed miserably. It only gives 25% of the forced contributors a benefit. We are going to do away with that, for example, and instead just simply make a commitment to every single Jamaican family that you must be a property owner because this land belongs to you. So why pussyfoot around? Why all of the shenanigans? We're just going to make sure that if you're a Jamaican, you become a property owner through your family. So your family must own a piece of property. It will be a decent home. So depending on where you are, those persons who already have a home, already have a piece of land, we're not going to take it from you. If it's underdeveloped and you want some help to finish the house and get it in shape, we will provide that help and get it in shape and give you an affordable mortgage that will help to pay it off intergenerationally. If you now have nothing, so you live right now in squatter property or in a horrible ghetto community, as we said, all ghettos, all garrisons, and all squatting ends under the UIC. So we're going to build beautiful condominiums of the quality you see in Singapore, and we're going to make sure every single Jamaican family gets one of those if they don't already have something. If you already have something and it's not finished, we're going to help you to finish it. If it is too big for you, we're going to give you some options maybe to see if we can adjust your situation accordingly. But we don't want no dilapidated zinc and ugly unfinished structures lying around. We want all of Jamaica to look, smell, and feel like a tourist destination. So a massive building boom will be on, well managed and structured to make sure we have a 98% home ownership rate. So rentals are going to go down except for short-term rentals of tourists coming in, and ownership is going to go up. We're going to preserve our farmlands. We're not going to allow the urban sprawl. We're going to protect our food security, protect our water security, and expand our energy security. And in the end, you, the Jamaican people, as property owners and as owners of the land by virtue of shares in the massive organic farming complex we're going to put up will give you security of tenure, and never again will any Jamaican be somebody without property ownership unless they decide to give up their right to be a property owner.
All right, and a lovely note to end live on. We have a lot more landmass and natural resources than Singapore, and unlike Rwanda, which is limited due to being landlocked and predominantly mountainous, our potential for greatness is enormous. I agree wholeheartedly with you, Paulette.
Well said, Paulette. Well said.
This is where we're going to end our live tonight. People, please remember that we have our walk on the 22nd. And for those of you that are in the diaspora, encourage your family members out here to come and walk with us. Tell them about the UIC and get them to come on the walk with us. For those of you that are here in Jamaica, we welcome you to come and walk with us. We'll be starting our walk from Ward Theatre in downtown at 10 a.m. and we'll be walking all the way to Halfway Tree.
But we're stopping, you know. But we're stopping.
We're stopping along the way, yes.
Hero Circle, and Emancipation Park.
Right.
And then we're going to have a big speech. I have a massive announcement to make, which is going to rock the country on when we get to Halfway Tree at Mandela Park. So don't miss it.
Yes. So thanks for coming on, guys. And we love to see you guys on. Please, tomorrow we'll be back. And we'll be sharing some more information. So see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for everyone that's been in the background. Naika, thanks for your work. Paulette is asking, Lisa Hanna will be joining the UIC. Well, you know, you never can tell. The president had wrote a letter to her, so we don't know what will come of that. But yes, thank you guys, and good night. Have yourselves a good evening. Okay.
Good night, everyone. All the best. Take care.